Good morning, I'm Connie Romans with Oklahoma CareerTech, and this is CareerTech Conversations. Today we're talking to Holly Hanan, and Holly is State Program Manager for CareerTech's Family and Consumer Sciences Division. Holly, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me, Connie. I appreciate it.
I know it's a busy time for you. It's also a busy day for you. And in fact, I've seen a lot of Family and Consumer Sciences instructors in the building this morning.
Yes, today is the last day of our new teacher academy. We have about 70 teachers here today, and these are all teachers who were new to Family and Consumer Sciences this year. And so we had them 4 days during the summer, and then once in September, and then once today. So we're just trying to give them a little information to help them get through the year.
So you are, as I mentioned, State Program Manager,
Yes.
and we have a lot of titles here at CareerTech, a lot of acronyms too, but what does that exactly mean? What is your role?
Well, I am in charge of all the Family and Consumer Science programs that are CareerTech approved programs here in the state of Oklahoma. I have a staff of 5 program specialists that work with the regions in the state. So they're actually out in the field working with the teachers kind of one-on-one a lot of times. And then we have the state FCCLA advisor that's in our office as well. And my job is to kind of help keep all those pieces moving together, and I also help provide professional development for our teachers. And also we work with the teachers kind of one-on-one and help them with technical assistance in their programs.
And all of the things that they are learning or struggling to comprehend, you've been there and done that, right?
Absolutely. I was in the classroom for 13 years. I took a break in the middle, kind of. My husband and I ran a pharmacy. Then I came back to teaching. And then I have been at the agency since November of 2008. I started out as a program specialist. So I was in one of the regions. So I was boots on the ground working with the teachers. And then in August of 2020, I became the program manager.
We talked about having a lot of, it's always been a running joke about the number of acronyms at any state agency, but this one in particular. So
Right.
FCS, of course, is Family and Consumer Sciences.
Right.
A lot of people still think, no matter how hard we try to market this, that it's just a bunch of cooking and sewing classes.
Right.
How accurate is that?
Well, a lot of times we tell people that we work in Family and Consumer Sciences, and they just kind of look at us really strange. And so we'll have to say, what used to be called home economics. Oh, yeah, okay, I understand. That name change has happened, I think, in 1999 or 2000. And so it is hard because we have tried marketing it to the new vocabulary there. But it's not just cooking and sewing. Never really has been, but more so now. We have courses that work with, if you are interested in interior design, fashion design, nutrition and wellness, culinary arts. In the last several years, we've added some courses for students who are interested in being teachers. And so we have a teach and train pathway of courses that students can take if they're interested in becoming a teacher. And when they finish the classes, they're not going to be able to necessarily be certified, but at least it helps them prepare for the next step in their education. We have courses in mental health and counseling, which we know right now is there's a big problem with a lot of students having a lot of emotional issues and things like that. So, and of course, we still have courses that we teach them to cook and sew, but we also look at the nutrition aspect of the foods. We look at garment construction and things like that. We have courses that cover the lifespan development, so from birth to death, and all the different types of development that a child and an adult would have. We still have courses with like interpersonal relationships, so it's not just spousal relationships, but people that you work with and things like that. We have courses that help students with learning financial literacy skills and to investigate different careers and things like that. So we are life skills. We are teaching students the things that are going to help them be a more well-rounded individual or citizen. And I like to tell people that we're kind of the practical application for like science, technology, engineering, math, all of that, things that they're learning in those core classes, they can put into practical application on a daily basis.
You mentioned Family and Consumer Sciences is also offering financial literacy classes.
Yes.
At one point, that was a mandate by the state that they have to complete that prior to graduation.
Correct.
So are all of the financial literacy courses taught through Family and Consumer Sciences or just a small portion?
Not necessarily. Some schools offer it in lots of different ways because the students have to have completed those anywhere from 7th to 12th grade. So sometimes they get it in maybe a math class or a history class or English class or something like that. They may get bits and pieces throughout their high school career. We just have it kind of in one nice little packet in one course. And so several of our teachers teach personal financial literacy, but not all of them do.
Family and Consumer Sciences is college prep, career prep,
Yes,
life prep.
absolutely.
Anything else that I'm leaving out of that scenario?
No, I don't think so, because I think in all of those areas, you're going to cover something, that's going to help you in your future. We do have a lot of courses that can prepare students to go into the workforce. So like our culinary arts programs or our early care programs, they actually can get certifications and actually go right into work after they've completed those. Even at the high school level, I mean, because our technology centers, that's what they focus on. They're very specific toward a career opportunity. And but even at the high school level, we have certifications that students can receive. We have mentorship programs to help those students make those connections. So I think that's something I wish we would have had a little bit more so that students could go out and see, if I finish these courses in, let's say, interior design, what are my options? And I think that's something that CareerTech does well, is helping students see the connection of what they're learning in class and how they can apply it on the workforce.
I've always thought that the role of a family and consumer sciences instructor is different than that of the algebra teacher or the English teacher or any of the other instructors in terms of the role they play in a student's personal growth.
Right.
Can you address that?
Sure. I think because we talk about personal issues a little more openly, we get to know our students on more of a personal level and kind of what makes them who they are. And because they could see the relation, how what they're learning relates to their real life. My dad's a math teacher, so I used to always give him a hard time, when do I use algebra and those kind of things. And we do use those skills that they teach us. Like I said, what we teach is the practical application of that. So if you're learning fractions in a math class, you're going to put that into action either in a cooking lab maybe, or a sewing lab, or drawing out house plans and things like that. So, and it's just the good problem solving skills that they learn as well. So I think that students can see, though, I could take what I've already learned and put it into a project or into something that they can use later on in life, and that helps everything cut a gel. They're connecting those dots.
You mentioned that you have 70 new instructors here today.
Correct.
Is it difficult to find people who want to take on those jobs?
Yes, sometimes. We have a total of about 435 programs statewide, and that includes our K-12 programs, and that's anything from mainly 6th grade to 12th grade. We have a few 5th grade programs across the state, and also our technology center programs. Unfortunately, in the state of Oklahoma, we only have one university that has a family consumer science education program. That's here at OSU. And so, they're not producing lots of students right now because that program is still fairly new in the last probably 10 years. So, we do have graduates that come out, but we also have a lot of alternatively certified teachers. Many of them have taught other subject areas, maybe different grade levels. and then they want to switch to family consumer science. Some of those are just people who want to try teaching and they want to see, they're interested in it. And, we really need more family consumer science education teachers out there. So if, we're constantly encouraging students to pursue this as a viable career for them.
We certainly don't want to deter anyone who might be interested from becoming a FACS instructor. No. But I'm guessing you don't start out by saying, well, your day goes from 9 until 3 and then you're finished.
Right. Yeah. Every day is different. We encourage teachers. We know that there's a lot of extra work that goes into it because they have extra duties as a CareerTech program with us. And so, one day you may be in your classroom starting work at 7 a.m. or before, and you may not get home until very late that night because you have an FCCLA activity or you have, students who are preparing for an FCCLA competitive event. You may be taking students to different parts of the state to activities or competitions. And it is very much a hands-on career, but it's also very valuable to the teacher because they get to see what these students are doing and how much growth they make through all these activities as well.
One of the travel experiences that I have always been fascinated by is when they get an opportunity to speak to their legislators at the state capitol. And I understand that was a recent activity, FCS Stay at the Capitol. Can you tell me why that is an important activity?
FCS Day at the Capitol this year was February 15th, so last week we did that. And students and their advisors came, and they were dressed in official dress for FCCLA. We had a training for the students about how to advocate. And the purpose that day was to advocate for family consumer sciences education in schools. So why schools need to keep these programs, and also why they might need to add a program. And our students went through the training, and then they were able to go to different legislators, talk to them about the benefits that they've received from being a family consumer science student, talk to them about being involved in FCCLA. And it's a great opportunity for these kids to see laws, or public service in action. And they were able to go in and be recognized in both the House and the Senate that day. And they just had a chance to kind of talk to people. And in fact, I just talked to a teacher this morning, and she has middle school students. She had 6th and 7th graders there. They were very intimidated at first, but when they went and talked to their legislator, they found out that he had competed and was a state champ in creed speaking when he was in school. So that gave them a connection, and then they were able to, talk about what family consumer science had done for them, even at that young age. And she said it was really neat to watch these kids just kind of relax, and then they could tell their story as well.
We probably don't have time to talk about all the many, many ways that young people are different today than they were when you and I were in high school, or at least when I was in high school. But you mentioned official dress. Okay. Why is it important to have these young people in a uniform of sorts?
Well, that day we had about 160 students, I believe, all in their red jackets. And they were easily recognized. And when they were there, let's say with the legislators, that gave the legislators a chance to say, hey, tell me about why are you wearing this? And it gives the students some pride in what they're doing. They are working on their leadership skills. And it's really interesting that when these kids put on official dress, how proud they are. And sometimes I have had teachers tell us about when they walk through the halls, and the other kids in the school are just so interested and excited about why, what they're doing. But I think for the most part, it helps to create that professional image that these students are trying to portray. And it gives them a chance to connect with others, whether they're from their school or another school as well.
I probably should have stopped you earlier when you said FCCLA, because anyone my age, talking about acronyms, I
Right.
was involved in FHA, and then I was involved in FHA Hero,
Right.
and now it has become FCCLA, and
Correct.
that stands for
Family Career and Community Leaders of America. And when I was in school, it was FHA Hero. So yes, back in 1999, they changed the name. They felt it was a little more inclusive and kind of told our story a little bit better, not just the homemaking part, but the careers and the leadership skills as well.
So FCCLA is one of CareerTech's 7 student organizations.
Correct.
It's also one of the largest of the CTSOs. How many members do you have currently?
This year, we have a little over 16,000, which is about double what we had 2 years ago. And of course, 2 years ago was COVID time, and so our numbers were down a little bit, but this is the most number of affiliated members that we've had in probably 20, 25 years. So we're really excited because we've got more students who are interested in doing the different activities and developing the leadership skills.
So you have followed over the years a lot of students who have gone on to become successful adults.
Yes.
What kinds of skills have you seen make the biggest impact as they've gone on to careers? And
That's a big question.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, for instance, our current state FCCLA advisor, she tells her story that she wasn't anyone that would necessarily have gotten up in front of talked in front of people. She was a local officer. She became a state officer. She was a national officer. And now she runs what we consider to be the best FCCLA state in the country. So she's done things like that. We have students who have, through FCCLA activities and just the leadership skills, are designers, fashion designers. We have chefs. We have others who have gone on to become leaders in like military operations. We have some that are work for nonprofits, and they, because of what they did in FCCLA, they said that gave them the background on how to become a leader in their career as well.
you mentioned a lot of the benefits of FCCLA. How much of that is learned through the competitions and those types of events versus in the classroom?
Our teachers do a great job in that, and Oklahoma has one of the strongest FCCLA chapters or organizations in the country. We have the largest one-day state conference of all CTSOs, student organizations. So, we're getting prepped for our state convention, and we'll have probably 5,000 to 6,000 students there as well.
In my previous job, I had the opportunity to go to several national conferences for FCCLA. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get the idea that it's not just the competition or the leadership or the public speaking, that some of these kids have never even stayed in a hotel.
Absolutely. Or ordered from a menu or seen, different sites. And that's probably one of the fun parts of being involved in student organizations is what experiences you can provide for these students. And it's great when this kid sees, the National Monument for the first time or the ocean for the first time or whatever, because they have been working hard with their student projects, and then they get to attend a national conference or our fall conference or something like that.
Which in my mind is probably as big a reward as any of the plaques or
absolutely
anything else they might receive.
And again, it's something that the kids can see, hey, I can go do these things even on my own later. Just the travel part is a lot of fun for them.
A lot of times their families have never been or done where or what they.
And another thing is a lot of networking. They meet students from all over the country and can, continue those friendships throughout. And so that's a great opportunity for them as well.
I remember to this day, and it's been a minute since I was in family and consumer sciences class, but you don't ever run a microwave with nothing in it, for instance.
Correct.
I mean, that was drilled into me, but I'm assuming that there are lessons like that, and I'm assuming that you get feedback years later as to
Right.
what kinds of things that stuck with them.
Right. Yeah. So we always have safety tests and units that we go over for any of our labs, whether it's a sewing lab, a foods lab, a childcare lab, um, and it is fun, and like social media has really helped kind of reinforce that. Hey, what I taught is good, because I'll have students from 20 years ago that'll message me on Facebook or something and say, Miss Hannon, uh, this happened in class or at home, and I know how to fix that now. Or I learned how to, they learned how to put up new wallpaper or paint in the room, or they'll ask for certain recipes maybe that they cooked in class, or they got a job in childcare because of the things that they learned through my class. And so that. Sometimes you think, okay, some days are hard because, some days you feel like you're just beating your head against the wall with these students. But when that light bulb comes on, and then years later, they're able to say, hey, I still use those skills that you taught me. And you're like, okay, that is exactly the reason I do what I do.
I said we weren't going to go back on how students have changed, but there's one very obvious way that the student population has changed in FCCLA, and that is I'm 100% certain they were all girls when I was in high school.
Yeah, and honestly, in fact, in home economics, it was never really intended that it should only be girls, but a lot of schools, girls went to home ec, boys went to ag or to shop or whatever. We do have, we still are predominantly female memberships for either for our classes or for the organization, but we do have a large number of male students as well. And we have state officers, district officers, local officers that are either male or female, both. So it's becoming more, I won't say equalized, but we are seeing more male students looking for these leadership positions.
And a lot of times we probably see stories that we don't realize that they got their skills from your classrooms or from your FCCLA programs. But being somewhat of a football fan, I watched the Super Bowl this year.
Yes.
And some people watch for the commercials. I watch for the games, but I did watch for the Dorito commercial in particular, and the interesting phenomenon with the triangles and the dress with the triangles. Yes. And that actually tied back to your program.
Yes, that's Corey Martin. He is a fashion designer in Hollywood. I think he's designed for Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez and people like that. And that dress was one that he had created for the Super Bowl commercial. So he's pretty proud. And if you have read any of the articles or the interviews he's done, he says his family consumer science program is what helped him get to where he is now. We pride ourselves on the fact that we help students become better individuals of who they are, and give them a chance. Get out there and try it. You'll never know unless you do try. So, we have Corey, this has been a big deal for him, but it's also been a great deal for Oklahoma family consumer science students to see what can happen.
A lot of good information here, a lot of things that people probably didn't have any idea were associated with family and consumer sciences education, and your role here because of that is very important. And I'm really grateful that you took the time out to visit with us. When I asked you initially if you would sit down and talk, you probably had some ideas in your head, and I probably got us off track and didn't cover them all. What else would you really like people to walk away from this knowing?
I think one thing that we haven't really talked about is what these students do for their communities through either the Family Consumer Science coursework, a program, or their FCCLA chapter. And some students they don't really want to compete necessarily and things like that, but they will do things through community service projects at their local school, in their local towns. And it gives them a chance to show the pride that they have in the work that they're doing. And so I encourage people to, if you're, that you have a family consumer science program at your school, go see what those kids are doing. They're doing some great things, even if it's not at the competition level. But those that are competing are doing some great things too. So get involved and see what there is that you can do to help these students, and just see, because it's great to watch these students just blossom into fabulous young people and great employees as well, and great family members.
Well, I'm sure that you will be grateful to hear that I have run out of questions, but I haven't actually. I'm just going to call it good for today.
Well, that's fine.
I could probably do this all day long. Sure. Thank you again for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of your day with the new instructors, and
appreciate it.
Can't wait to see what the next chapter brings for you and for them. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
For more information about FCCLA, Family and Consumer Sciences Education, and other CareerTech programs, visit the Oklahoma CareerTech website at okcareertech.org. And don't forget to follow Oklahoma CareerTech on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again for CareerTech Conversations. I'm Connie Romans for Oklahoma CareerTech.